Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. I don't usually comment on celebrity or influencer breakups. However, the breakup between the wizard Liz and Landon has struck a nerve, and it has scared, shall we say, a lot of women. So I feel I need to talk about this and what we can learn from the breakup. This isn't going to be about victim blaming or bashing, but rather how we can turn this seemingly negative situation into a positive that we can all learn from. So if you don't know, the Wizard Liz is an influencer who calls herself a life coach with millions of followers on both YouTube and TikTok. And her platform is built around self-respect. And Landon is an influencer. So I'm going to explain what went wrong so that you don't end up in this situation. But first, I'd like to welcome back my beautiful No Contact Army. Have you been a good little soldier? Well, if you have, not only have you downloaded my app Silencio to help you stay in no contact, but you've also left a review and or a rating in the App Store or the Google Play. And if you would like to join our army, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and you're in. And to read our manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com, where you can read 2 free chapters before you purchase the book. Okay, so there's a reason why there are certain dating rules, just as there are no contact rules, because the rules are more likely to help you get your ex back when it comes to no contact. And with dating, you're more likely to have a successful partnership by following these rules. This is wisdom that has come down through the ages as people have made mistakes and we figured out, you know what, this is probably what you should do in order to have a successful relationship. And one of those rules is that you date someone for at least 2 years before you even think about getting engaged, never mind having a baby. And that's because in 2 years, that gives you enough time to get to know who you're really dealing with. If someone's wearing a mask, they can't wear it for 2 years. It's going to slip off at some point. That way, you allow the honeymoon stage to pass, the limerence, the infatuation. You see them at their worst, and you decide, do I want to be here? Is this the right person for me? And of course, vice versa for them. So that was the first mistake, because they met August of 24. It's now June of 25. They haven't even been together a year, and she's already 4 months pregnant. So you don't know who you're dealing with until at least a good 2 years have gone by. But a lot of people seem to be in a rush, and she's in her mid-20s. It's not like she needed to have a baby right away because the window of opportunity was closing. She's not 45. 45, okay, I can understand. 25, plenty of time to have a baby. There's no need to rush into anything. You know, the person that you choose to marry or to have a long-term relationship with, if you don't want to get married, is going to be the most important decision you will ever make. It's going to determine your lifestyle, your health, your mental health, your happiness, and your finances. It's not a decision to be taken lightly, and it's certainly not a decision to be made under the influence of infatuation or limerence. If you're over 45, 50, okay, 1 year, fine. You're older, you should be wiser, you should be able to discern, be more discerning about who you're dating. But anything under that, no, you can't go wrong by following the 2-year rule. No one ever regretted going too slow, but a lot of people have regretted going too fast and jumping in too quickly and then finding out who they were really dealing with. And I know there are probably going to be people in the comments who are going to say, well, I know someone who was married within 3 months, who was married within 6 months, and they're still together. Well, first of all, there's always going to be an exception to the rule. But that doesn't mean that just because it worked for someone else, it's going to work for you or for the majority of people. That's like saying, well, I know someone who jumped off a bridge and they lived. Okay, well, then go jump off a bridge and let's see how that works out. So don't use this excuse that you know someone who did not follow the 2-year rule. And when did that happen? Was it last year or was it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? The dating landscape has changed immensely in the last 5 years even. So just because it worked in the past, it doesn't mean it's still going to work today. Next, let's talk about love bombing. Because apparently Landon told Liz that he loved her within 36 hours of meeting her in person. So when you get love bombed, your ego wants to believe it because your ego wants someone who will worship the ground you walk on, who thinks that you're just the most amazing person in the world. And when someone says things like, I love you, that early on, instead of being suspicious, being concerned, and instead your ego's like, yes, finally, someone who sees the real me, someone who sees how amazing I am, someone who sees how worthy I am of their love. No. When someone says, I love you, that quickly, don't be flattered. Beware. And the phrase, I love you, is not something that rolls off the tongue easily for most men. Most men are not dying to say, I love you. If anything, they're trying to hold off on saying it as long as possible because they know things are going to change. The dynamic is going to change once they say that. So you have to be suspicious of someone who's able to say it in 36 hours or even 36 days. That's still too soon. At least 2 to 3 months have to pass before someone even goes there. And even if he can say, well, I was just joking. Why would someone joke about something like that? He wasn't joking. He was love bombing. So how do we deal with a love bomber? Well, there's a lot of responses that you can give. And here's some of them. You can say, you're so cute when you lie. Or you can say, you're so cute when you love bomb. Or get out of here. Or you can just laugh. Okay. Now, if hearing those responses scared you, and you could never say any of those, then you have an anxious attachment style, and you're going to get played by a love bomber / narcissist. Because if you say, I love you to someone with an avoidant attachment style, they're going to be looking for the nearest exit. They're going to be like, get me the hell out of here. So you're going to get sucked in by the love bombing, and you're not going to want to use any of those phrases. And as I said, you're going to end up playing yourself. Love bombing rarely works on someone with an avoidant attachment style. It mostly works on people who are anxious. And then finally, you may be saying, okay, how can I protect myself from someone like this in the future? How can I ever trust anyone? Well, the good news is you don't have to trust anyone. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust that if you work on yourself to have a secure attachment style, that when you see the red flags, you'll leave sooner rather than later. Also, your intuition was given to you for a reason, and not enough people are using it. My intuition has helped me in so many cases. And in fact, I once caught a guy cheating as a result of my intuition. I was 21. I was dating this guy, and he was out of town. And I started having these thoughts. It was the same thought every day, several times a day. Call Steve. Call Steve. Now, this was the day before cell phones. So he only had the landline at home, and I wasn't going to call him because he was out of town. And yet I kept having this recurring thought, call Steve, to the point where I finally said, fine, I'll call Steve just to stop this thought from popping into my head all day, every day. And what do you know? Who was at Steve's house? a girl named Sean, who I had already suspected that something was going on and who he claimed was just a friend. Yeah. So when he got back into town, I was supposed to take him out for his birthday to a fancy restaurant because he had taken me out for my birthday to a fancy restaurant. And instead, I took him to a coffee shop. And I said, I know about Sean, so you got to make a choice. It's either her or me. And he picked me. So how do you develop your intuition? The best way I know of is meditation. Meditation helps you develop your intuition by quieting the mind, enhancing self-awareness, and improving your ability to tune into subtle inner signals. You have to be tuned in order to catch them, but you can't be tuned in if you have a lot of mental noise going on. So meditation helps to calm all this chatter in your mind, and it makes it easier to recognize intuitive insights that are often drowned out by overthinking or external distractions. Your intuition is your best friend and your best defense in life and definitely in dating. So in closing, I want to use a quote from Dr. Laura, who said, "Choose wisely, treat nicely." So if you don't choose wisely, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're an influencer with millions of followers who talks about self-respect. It's not going to work out. You need to lay your foundation on rock, not sand. Otherwise, it's eventually going to come crumbling down. So now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this situation? Do you think she should take him back and give him one more chance since she's pregnant? And in the meantime, if you would like my help to get your ex back, you can contact me at theartoflove.net/coaching, and we will send you the rates. And the direct link to that is underneath every single video and podcast. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to this as a podcast, I would appreciate if you would leave a rating and or a review. And finally, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.